What's up, Rainbow Heads, and welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new here, my name is Caitlin Ford. I am a professional hairstylist as well as an award-winning hair colorist who specializes in really weird hair color. In today's video, we're not really going to be focusing on weird hair color though. Today I'm going to be showing you guys something a little bit different and also something a little bit controversial as a professional hairstylist. Unless you've been living under a rock, you probably already know that everything in the world pretty much is shut down right now, including hair salons. I've been getting a lot of DM requests from you guys on Instagram asking about doing an at-home hair tutorial. So that's what we're going to be doing today, as the title says. You guys have also been requesting a tutorial on how to cut your man's hair at home. I know, especially for the guys, they tend to wear their hair a little bit shorter, and so their hair is definitely getting a little shaggier. So I do have a video in the works for cutting a man's hair at home coming up. I'm going to be filming it tomorrow for you guys. So if you're interested in that, be sure to hit the subscribe button. Some pro hairdressers might not love the idea of me making a video for people to do their hair at home, but the fact of the matter is there are going to be people who are going to be doing their hair at home. We have no idea how long this is going to last for. We have no idea how long we're going to be out of work for, and so people need to be able to do their own hair. So this is definitely for those who are feeling really desperate, feeling really shaggy, and need a little bit of a pick-me-up. And especially in this time, let's try not to judge people for that. If you are one of the hairdressers who's sitting at home and maybe judging me a little bit for doing an at-home hair tutorial, just remember that this is a different time that we're in right now. None of us really knows how long it's going to be before we can go back to work and take care of our clients again. I mean, I definitely used to DIY my hair back in the day. That is how I got into doing hair. So I ain't over here casting stones, that's for sure. So yeah, life is pretty tough for everybody right now, so let's just have a little empathy, okay? So without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into the video. Hey guys, editing Caitlin here. I just wanted to pop in really quick and let you guys know that there's going to be kind of a drastic change in between the way my hair looks at the intro of this video versus what we're going into right now, which is the hair cutting tutorial. And that is because originally when I was going to do this video, I was going to have it be a root retouch and haircut video, but when I was putting everything together, I realized it was just way too long. It was going to be like 50 minutes long or something crazy like that. So I decided to go ahead and break these up into two different videos. So there is a blowout that happens in between the first part and the second part of this. I am going to be doing a retouch video, so make sure you subscribe for that as well if it's something that you're interested in. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoy the tutorial. With this haircut, I'm going to show you guys a couple of different things. I'm going to kind of show you guys more of like a basic way of cutting your hair for longer layers. And then I'm going to show you guys how I cut these shorter layers on my head. You can see my layers are very short, and this is with them being super grown out. I have what's called a shag haircut, and so I have these shorter layers on the top of my head. I know that's not everybody's style, so I kind of want to show you guys how to do the long layers first, and for a lot of you guys, you're going to be happy with just that. But just because I know some of you guys will probably want to see how all of this is cut as well, I'm going to show you guys that too. So I'm going to give you kind of like a 2-for-1 with this haircut. How I'm going to do this is we're going to cut the layers first and the bangs, and then I'm going to go back through and trim the very ends of my hair. I'm actually not looking to lose a ton of length on my hair, so I'm not going to be trimming very much off the ends because I'm actually really liking it. It's very long right now. It's the longest that I've had it in a really long time, and so I'm not going to trim too much off the ends, but I want you guys to be able to see just kind of how to nip off those little split ends, which is really all I would recommend doing without the help of a hairstylist. Now, it's important to note that certain haircuts really are better to see a hairstylist for, and unfortunately, I can't show you guys how to cut everything at home. Certain haircuts just require a lot more precision, especially shorter haircuts. Anything that's stacked or has a very blunt line to it is going to be best addressed by a hairstylist. So unfortunately for any of you guys who have very short or blunt haircuts, I'm going to go ahead and recommend that you don't try to cut your hair yourself. As I said, I'm going to be filming in the next couple of days a how to cut your boyfriend's hair video. So that's going to show a lot more techniques for doing shorter hair, but it is going to be doing it on somebody else and not on your own hair, just because it's so much harder to get that precision on shorter hair. But these are just great basic layering techniques. And I'm really just going to be showing you guys how to gently graze the ends of your hair, nothing that's too crazy. I wouldn't recommend using those techniques to drastically change your hair. This is really for people who already have similar styles to this and just need to clean your ends up. If you're really getting to that point that you just cannot stand your hair right now, these are going to be great techniques for just addressing those few little split ends to get you through until you can get back in to see your hairstylist. Otherwise, I would definitely encourage you guys to wait until salons open back up again. Hopefully it won't be too much longer. So what we're going to do here is we're actually going to try to find the existing lines in this haircut so that we can follow them. That's going to help us to make sure that we're not adding layers where they don't need to be, where our hairdresser didn't put them. And in general, having a guide to follow while you're cutting hair is just always a good idea. So usually what we do in hairdressing when we section off hair to do a haircut is we achieve what's called elevation, which means we're actually taking the section and pulling it out like this when we cut it. Obviously, when you're doing your own hair, that can be a little bit tricky. So another way to get that sort of same elevation is to go ahead and tilt your head down. I'm gonna tilt my head to the side here so you can see this a little bit better. I'm gonna pull this out perpendicular from my head. And as you can see, you start to see these shorter lengths popping out and they gradually get longer towards the end. So those are your layers. If you have very long hair like I do, it can be a little bit difficult to get control over this. Don't go in and cut in wildly. That's not what you want to do because that's going to leave you with crazy, blunt ridiculousness, and that is not what we want. If you need a little safety to make sure that your layers are going to end up being as long as you want them to, whatever this point right here, whatever you cut this length to, however short that is, that's going to determine your shortest layer around your face. So if I pull this piece out, you can see that ends up just underneath my chin. If that is too short for you, what you're gonna wanna do is go ahead and continue to pull your fingers out until you get to a length that you're happy with. So I'm going to pinch this right here. Let's pretend this is where I want to cut my layer. And you can see that is a much longer layer if I were to cut at that position. So we'll pull perpendicular out. Now those shorter layers around my chin I already know are a part of my shag haircut. This angle right here, these are actually part of my long layers. You can see if I let that go, that's where that end stops, and then there's my length right there, so we can see kind of the difference in the length. And you want to make sure that you're using a pair of hair cutting scissors. It's very important to make sure you're using hair cutting scissors. You can get them on Amazon if your local Walmart is still open because they're part of grocery stores, or I think Target might be open too. A lot of times the hair care aisles will have cheaper pairs of hairdressing scissors. I would grab those. They're not gonna stay as sharp for as long as like a professional pair of scissors, but they are definitely 1,000 times better than using kitchen scissors or just paper cutting scissors, whatever you're using at home. Hair cutting scissors tend to be a lot sharper. They also have better tension on them, which helps to prevent them from folding the hair as they cut. And that's what you're going to get if you use anything other than hair cutting scissors. A lot of times it will fold and bend the hair. It will not cut through it. So yes, just go ahead and get a cheap pair of hair cutting scissors. It's important to make sure your hair is all combed out, going in the same direction. Pull your hair out completely straight, and then you can relax your hand so that you can access that hair more easily. How I would hold these scissors for cutting your own hair, typically if you're cutting somebody else's hair, this would be the correct position to hold your scissors in. However, cutting your own hair, especially face frame layers, I tend to find that this position is much easier. You're gonna put your ring finger through the hole that has the little pinky rest on it, and then you're gonna put your thumb through the other hole there. So I'm gonna come in parallel with my section, and I'm not going to clamp down really tough on this. We're just going to very gently open and close the scissors just on the ends of the hair, following that line, and that's going to very slightly graze off those ends. Those ends are looking a little bit sharper now, and if we need to go shorter, we can keep grazing very gently. This is called slide cutting. And a lot of people think that slide cutting is just going in and dragging the blade through the hair. That's not what should happen when you're slide cutting. You should be opening and closing the blade very slightly. You can see that motion is very, very slight. It's just enough to close the blade just on that hair that sits at the very end there. It's letting everything else kind of fall out very loosely, so it's not as precise or blunt as completely shutting the blade, and it's going to give you a much softer effect through the layers. So what we can do now is take another vertical section from behind the ear. We're going to go ahead and pull that to our previous section. So I'm going to go ahead and take another vertical section. So the advantage of pulling all the layers from the back of the head towards the front of the head to cut them, it's going to help to create a front to back, short to long kind of feel. So the layers will be a little shorter in the front and then gradually get longer as they go to the back, which tends to be a little bit more natural looking. Just going to cut these very ends down here. I know those layers are getting longer towards the back, so that's why I'm not really seeing anything pop up right there that I need to cut. We're just going to point into this right here. We can even slide cut a little bit and get that layering going. We'll get rid of this. Point, cut, and there we go. So you guys can see where the hair is shorter right here, and then it gradually gets longer towards the ends. Those are the layers. So these are the longer layers, and that's about where they start at, right here. So we're creating very long layers with this, just very gradually getting rid of those ends. Nothing too crazy, just enough to get those little flippy dippies right here. So now we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Go ahead and drop that out. Another vertical section from behind the ear. And if you do accidentally create some bluntness like this right here, just go ahead and point cut into it. And it'll soften that right up. Don't go too crazy. Make sure you check it constantly. Do a few little nips and then check again. And you can see that's much softer now just with a couple of little snips. It does not take much. If you're going to cut your hair, do it slowly, do it patiently, and check everything. Keep pulling your hair down and looking at it. You know, you should be able to see immediately if you've created some kind of crazy line or something like that. I'm going to go ahead and take my last section back here. We're going to pull it forward. And again, I'm just going to graze over that and nip those very ends off. Point cut if necessary, but I don't think it's too super necessary here. Just graze those little ends off. And there we go. Okay, so let's move on to the crazy short layers. If you don't already have a shag cut, please don't do this to your hair because these layers are so short that you can really do some crazy stuff to your hair if you don't know what you're doing. I want to show it to you because this is my haircut and I don't feel like I could really put this video out here without showing you exactly how I cut the top of my hair too. So with a shag haircut, the important thing to note is that there are two sets of layers happening as we kind of talked about. There's some longer layers through the ends here, and then there are shorter disconnected layers on top. The shorter layers are actually determined by your bangs. I'm gonna go ahead and part off my bang section. I would pretty much just try to find the sectioning that your hairdresser gave you for your bangs. An easy way to do that is to just separate the longest hair from the shortest hair. So you're going to drag a comb down from the top of your bangs here in the corner of your head down. And once you get to that end bang section, you can use the comb to kind of pull the edges of your bangs out. For me, it's pretty easy to figure out where my bangs are because they're colored. If you feel like you don't have them all, just keep scooching your fingers down and pulling until it seems like you have it all, and then tuck the rest of that behind your ear. What I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna split my bangs down the middle. I'm going to pull this half of my bangs diagonally towards the opposite side of where they're supposed to lay. And you can see when I do that, I start to get this diagonal line right there. It's a guideline. Perfect. We can totally follow that. That's what I would recommend for doing your bangs. Find that guideline and follow it. Look at those ends. They are tragic. This hair is trashed. It is ready to come off. She has been bleached. She has made the rounds and she is ready to go. So we are going to get rid of her. So what I'm going to recommend is just try and pull that section as flat to your head as you possibly can. Try not to pull it out from your head this way. Try and use the round of your head to kind of wrap it this way. Feel my finger kind of resting at my cheekbone there. And we're going to follow that exact angle here. We're going to take off that poo-poo hair at the bottom just by point cutting into it. All right, and you can see it's the same line, it's just shorter, which is what we want. Same line, just shorter. That is looking a heck of a lot better. It's still pretty long, so I'm going to go ahead and take it back over. So again, we're going to cut the exact same line, just a little shorter. The red on the end of my hair is probably going to end up coming off completely by the end of this, but that's okay because I need to color my bangs anyway. Oh, yes. That is feeling a whole lot better. And what you can do here is you can pull this now straight down. If you have any little so you can see there's like a little tiny strand right here, a little tiny strand right here. We can go in and kind of perfect that a little bit. Just point cut those little bits off. And we are pretty much good to go here. Oh, that feels so amazing. It's like when you take your bra off at the end of the night, like my face feels free now. It's like incredible. Okay, so now we're gonna do the exact same thing with this side. So I'm gonna go ahead and take my section. You can see I'm losing tension right here. So I know that those end pieces are probably going to be a little too long. Let me go ahead and get a little bit more tension going here. Oh my God. Be careful if you are cutting your bangs with contact lenses in too. Feels a whole hell of a lot better. Pull this out here. Let's see how these sides look together. When I pull it down straight, you can see I've got a couple little wispies happening here. We're just gonna point those out just with the ends of the scissors. Okay, so now that I can see properly again, we can go ahead and cut the rest of my layers. So as I mentioned earlier, these kind of layers are disconnected, which means they're not going to flow in with the rest of the layers in the haircut. There's going to be sort of the illusion that they blend together just in how it's sectioned, but they don't actually blend together. These layers are going to live on the very top section of the head. They're not going to come down any further than that. And that's going to help create this like nice round fullness at the top of the head, like what you see with a shag haircut. So what I'm going to do in order to help protect the rest of my layers and my length, I am going to go ahead and section off that top area. I'm basically going to follow right along this recession area right here where the hairline kind of goes back. We call that the recession area. I know it's pretty tragic, but that's what we call it. So where the hairline goes back here, I'm going to go ahead and follow that. So we're going to take a section like this, kind of like a horseshoe shaped section, just on the very top of the head here. Clean this up a little bit. It does not have to be perfect. Actually, having it a little less perfect is going to help make that a little bit more blended. You want to make sure you have a little bit of hair coming in from the crown. Pretty much anything I can find that is part of that shorter layering, I'm going to go ahead and pull into this. I'm going to clip this off for a second just so that I can get the rest of my hair out of the way. All right, put a clip in. All right, so now when I take this out, you're going to see these are short layers. We're going to go ahead and part this hair down the middle here. I'm gonna go ahead and part this side off with a clip. And we're gonna take parallel partings along that middle parting, and everything is going to get directed towards the middle parting. So you can see this very end right here, that's what I'm going to use as my guide. That is coming from the bangs. There is the length that we're going to cut right there. And once I create the tension in the position that I need to cut the hair in, which is again straight up, and you can see that I'm directing it over towards that center part there. Once we have that tension, we can go ahead and bring the hand down so it's not as difficult, and go ahead and I'm just going to very gently slide cut through that. And then I may even go in and do just a little bit of point cutting. It's really difficult because I'm using a monitor instead of a mirror to look into. So the positioning is definitely a little bit awkward, but there you go. So you can see where I cut previously, there's the length that I cut previously, there's my bang length right there, so we're just gonna go ahead and cut through that. You can see it's starting to create this kind of like feathery effect in the layers, which is exactly what you're looking for with a shag haircut. And with that, we're gonna go ahead and direct our very last section towards the top here. Got that little bit right there. We're gonna go ahead and take all that off. Okay, and we can see how these layers kind of start to just feather together. That's exactly what you're looking for with a shag haircut. Again, this is a very specific haircut. It's probably not something that you have. It may not even be something that you want. All right, you guys can see that I have my guide. You can actually pretty much perfectly see that line happening through that hair that I have pulling up. So I'm just gonna go ahead and follow that. What I'm gonna do is pull the center bit up here and check to make sure. You can see that it's a little longer on this side, and all I need to do is straighten that out by cutting it. You can see I have a lot more roundness and fullness through these layers, which is what we're looking for to create that nice rounded top for the shag haircut. Again, this is a very specific haircut. This is not a step that you need to do. It's only a step you need to do if you want to look like Elvira, like me. Other than that, you can get by just fine by doing the first part of this haircut, only cutting those long layers and leave the top of your hair alone. You can use, of course, the bang cutting tutorial to get these nice slippity dippity doo-dah 70s bangs. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut my length really quick. This is going to be very simple. I'm not going to do anything fancy schmancy with this at all. I don't really have to worry too much because the ends of my hair, because my hair is so layered and it is pretty thin towards the bottom, so I'm not really worried about it looking too crazy, just cutting that little tiny bit off the bottom. As long as you're not cutting too much length off, it shouldn't get too crazy here. I actually prefer my hair to sort of come into a V shape in the back of my head. And so I am going to go ahead and pull this forward as I cut it. So what you're going to want to do to kind of get the best, straightest line is when you're cutting this side of the hair, you're going to tilt your head this way. And that's really going to help kind of tuck those ends under and keep things nice and straight. It's going to give you proper tension on the ends of your hair. We're just going to part the hair down the middle here. I'm going to pull my ends down straight. I'm going to get nice, tight tension on the hair. All I'm going to be taking off is that last little icky bit of hair at the ends here. I've already created my tension here, so if I move my hair up here and cut it, I know that it's not going to change anything, and we're just going to point cut that off. And now we're going to do the same thing on the other side. And what I'm going to do is pull that hair down straight. I'm going to look in the mirror here, aka my monitor, to make sure that I'm getting my finger even with the ends of the hair on this side. So I want to cut that to the same length on this side. So once I've got that pinched, go ahead and switch hands here and get it to the same spot. And then let's go ahead and just snip that little bit off there. It's a totally crazy amount of hair coming off here. But again, this is a haircut that you do in absolute desperation. This is not something that you do for perfection. Definitely go and see a hairstylist after all this craziness is over if you're going to be doing this to your hair. Okay, let's see if we are even here. That is pretty much even. Throw my hair back to the back. And I'll let you guys see the back here. Okay, you guys, so that concludes my hair cutting video. You can see my hair doesn't look too drastically different from the beginning of the video, but it was never supposed to because this was just a trim, just something to get me by until I can get back into the salon. I am out of work right now because I am a hairstylist full time. And so you guys watching these videos definitely is going to be helping me out right now because actually YouTube is my only source of income right now. So thank you so much to those of you who are watching and supporting and already kind of know that this is my situation right now. Like I said, I have another video coming out very soon where I'm going to show you guys how to cut a man's hair. So if you are living with a man right now and he's starting to get a little shaggy, I'm going to be showing you guys how to cut his hair. Anyway, I hope you guys are staying healthy. Make sure to keep washing your hands and stay inside. Let's all make sure that we're doing our part to help control this situation as much as we possibly can. Anyway, I love you guys, and remember, hair completes the look. I'll see you later, Rainbow Heads.